I heard about you in a very interesting way. There was an article in the Cape Cod Times a few weeks ago, and a friend of mine, a patient of yours, showed it to me and said, "You got to have this guy on TV." So I boldly called, texted, and messaged you, and finally got you, because I know you're very popular. So, you are an internist who is pursuing another certification in
lifestyle medicine.
Lifestyle medicine sounds good to me. What exactly is that?
So lifestyle medicine concentrates on reversing chronic medical conditions or preventing them altogether with food and lifestyle choices.
Give me an example of a lifestyle choice.
So medical studies have shown that when you engage in exercising a certain amount, the magic number is about 150 minutes a week, eating the right diet, preventing injury like not smoking, avoiding high-risk activities, and stress management. So you're in control, not the feelings in control of you. Like sometimes you wake up and you don't feel like going to work, but you go. So you don't let the feelings control you.
Right.
So likewise, you know, life comes at you and bad things happen. Well, we want you in control so you can make good decisions. And hydration as well. People tend to neglect hydration, but that's how your body gets rid of waste products. And if you don't give it enough water, well, the waste product remains longer in your body.
And I imagine that you're talking about eight-ounce glasses of water a day?
Yes. And so the baseline is you need about 4 to 6 of those a day. Oh. And then depending on your physical activity, you will need more.
Maybe more, okay.
Right. Like if you're doing yard work on a hot day, then you will need
more water.
More
right.
water.
Right. Your biggest thing, I think, is this plant-based eating. Am I correct?
Well, the medical studies have shown that the plant-based eating that is no or little processed is shown the most benefits. And although it's not a philosophical thing for me, that's what the studies show. Like I used to make my own cheese, and I love eating cheese. And based on the studies and the association, it's an association, it's not a cause effect, an association between cheese and Alzheimer's, I decided to stop. Oh. And that was difficult, but I was able to do it. And so I just engaged in behaviors and eating habits that basically will not limit me. It's not about preventing wrinkles or white hair. It's about being able to do what you like. And I tell my patients, you imagine you're able to do everything you like. You don't spend time touring doctors and getting things done. And then you go to sleep and you wake up in heaven. Never sick, never in a nursing home, and never with Alzheimer's.
Really?
Yes.
Just from cheese?
Well, not just
No,
from diets that are rich in pro-inflammatory, foods. And it's just usually it's animal derived, and it has to do with certain amino acids and the fats, the saturated fats.
You told me to watch a documentary on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, you've got to see it. It's called Forks Over Knives.
Yes.
And I watched the whole thing, and I kind of felt sick after I was watching it, because I just said, I'm never going to be able to eat another piece of meat or chicken or anything again. And then in my head it said, protein, protein, protein. You got to have protein. Where do you get protein from in this diet?
Well, we get plenty of protein from basically beans and nuts. And, think about this. We as humankind, we eat beef in general, but the cows, they only eat grass, and they have plenty of protein. So they're getting it from the grass too. So you do get some protein from vegetables, but the problem is not so much the protein, the problem is the fiber and the chemicals that we get from fruits and vegetables that help you fight cancer and keep your blood vessels elastic so they can expand and they don't get blocked and so on.
Yes. And you made a comment before the show, you said skinny people die also.
Right. Well, I have a lot of patients that are just concentrating on losing weight. And I tell them, well, listen, skinny people die too. Right. My goal is not necessarily that you lose weight. My goal is that you're able to do everything that is important for you. And, I don't tell them that they have to be plant-based only. I do give them the information, it's their choice, but I just create tailored plans for each one of them, and then they just follow through.
What would be a breakfast that one could eat on a plant-based diet?
Oh, I should have brought an iPad to show you the pictures. There are many.
Okay.
I do that with patients. I have multiple things, and depending on what you like, 'cause I don't have the same breakfast every day. Sometimes we make these patties that we make with either plantains or with flaxseed and so on, and then we put fat-free refried beans on top with avocados and tomatoes. That will be one. Another ones that we do are, instead of scrambled eggs, we do the scrambled tofu with, again, avocados and tomatoes. The avocados and the tomatoes together with spinach, they fight macular degeneration. So I also tailor menus to patients depending on what medical conditions they have.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. And we also make like either pancakes, and instead of like buttermilk, we use soy milk and red cider vinegar and apple cider vinegar, and it tastes like buttermilk.
It does.
And then we cook the fruit and put it on top, and they're lovely.
That's another thing I was thinking. It takes more time to prepare these meals, probably, than most of us, not that than most of us have, but that most of us are willing to give. Would you agree or disagree with that?
That all depends. It usually takes about 30 minutes, so I think that's pretty doable.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I do too.
And one of the tenets that we use in whole food plant-based cooking is that we do it in batches. And if you get together with friends and you have your batch cooking parties, they're actually fun,
Oh.
and then you share each part of it, and then you just put the ingredients together, and it's like,
I don't mean to laugh. I just had this vision of my husband, my telling him that we were going to have one of those, and what he would say, it wouldn't be good, but he could use your help.
but when he goes
Yeah.
and plays golf with Scott, then you can go ahead and do
Right,
your cooking party.
exactly. That's a great idea to cook
Yeah.
in batches. Okay, here's my question that I want to know the answer to. No dairy?
Yeah, no dairy.
Dairy's bad for us?
So there was a landmark study. It was called the MIND diet. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background. Most people come to me and tell me, like my mother had Alzheimer's, and I have an aunt with Alzheimer's, and so it runs in the family. The fact is, the people that are born with the genes associated with dementia, they're less than 1% of the population.
Oh.
And those tend to get the dementia like early in life, like in their 50s or so. And there are like pockets in the world, like this one in South America and other areas, where we see that, and that's being studied. However, people develop mutations. See, the key word here is develop. So you're not born with them, you develop these mutations. These mutations are nutritionally induced. So they did this study that, and they call it the diet, they want it to sound catchy. And it was called the MIND diet, which is nothing more than a mix of the Mediterranean diet with a dash eating plant that brings down your blood pressure. And when you eat from those foods and you avoid red meat and you avoid dairy, like butter, cheese, yogurt, and so on, and you avoid pastries and you avoid fried food, it cuts your risk for Alzheimer's 54%. So it brings it to less than half. That's very interesting.
amazing,
Yeah,
yeah.
we don't have any pills that can do that.
Right.
But even if you eat from some of these groups with certain frequencies, you still cut your risk 35%. So for an example, they'll let you have less than 4 servings of red meat a week. You still cut your risk 35%. Wow.
Right, right.
And they let you have less than 5 servings of pastries or sweets a week, so it's not that bad, and you still cut your risk 35%.
Right.
But when it comes to cheese, less than 1 serving a week
Really?
because of the inflammatory process.
So all those people that are serving cheese and crackers when they have company should be thinking of an alternative.
Well,
Yes.
I just give them the information. It's up to them to decide.
Right.
I can't decide for them. Now, I'll tell you, because I used to make cheese, and the way I will used to make cheese is you have the milk, you inoculate it with bacteria. And the bacteria will eat the sugar in the milk, which is called lactose. And then what do? They poop out lactic acid and other stuff. That's why cheese smells. You're just eating bacteria poop. And that helps you not eat the cheese as
that
much.
Is absolutely, I'll never eat another. Oh, that's interesting.
But it causes a lot of inflammation and death. And then when the white cells release the oxidants, that's why you eat antioxidants and things that, radicals that kill the bacteria and other collateral innocent cells. That's what people call pus. That's another analogy I tell my patients. It's like if you had a boil and you cut and you're sucking that pus in. So don't eat that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
No.
So fascinating, so interesting. And there's a lot of reading that we can do besides watching the documentary. I know there are books, recipe books.
There are recipe books. I mean, I just tell my patients, I'm not in the business to get them to buy books. I tell them, go on Pinterest and you get all these free recipes and you have a wealth of recipes there. And if you find a recipe that is not fully plant-based, you just alter it and we get pretty amazing results.
How about fish? So is that a negative to eat?
Well,
I mean, I know it's not a plant.
What I tell the patients is, and you probably heard that in that documentary, you know, if it has a mommy and a daddy, don't eat it. So, no, I don't eat any of those. Now, sometimes on my line of work, I do something else besides medicine. I get invited to eat, and I eat whatever they give me, you know, out of courtesy and respect. I mean, it's not going to do anything.
Right.
Now, you say, well, how often you do that? Well, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So it shouldn't have a lasting effect. Right. But, you know, my goal is not necessarily that you live to be 200 years old, but you can live life to the fullest, not being limited. Arthritis, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, stents, those are not part of normal aging. That's what we see here because of our diet.
And that's what we say, too, right?
Right. No, we're just committing suicide with forks, and we have to stop.
Suicide with forks. Because I do notice at my age group, when we get a few people together, everybody's talking about their aches and pains, their arthritis, their high blood pressure, and it's very depressing, because who wants to be talking about that now? But if we did this plant-based diet, we could have other conversations.
Yeah, I tell patients, you know, even when they're not willing to have a full plant-based diet, if you eliminate or avoid as much as possible all dairy and cured meats or cold cuts, so no bacon, if it is hanging from the ceiling, those links, it's not rotting outside of the refrigerator, it's not good for you. You avoid that, your joints will improve. And I tell them there are certain things you need to eat, and I'm going to have you come back in 3 weeks and you'll tell me the results. Most of them, when they do it, have.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yes.
Last thing I want to say, and this is what I think is fantastic, is you said on the last Friday of every month, you take a walk with some of your patients?
Well, I invite everybody. We do it because of that study that I told you about the mind diet. They saw that if you exercise, meaning walking, but it can be dancing or whatever you like, 150 minutes a week, which boils down to going on a walk, 12 minutes out, 12 minutes back. So we go out 15 minutes, and then we come back 15 minutes, not by distance, and that decreases your risk for Alzheimer's. That's why we do it. So we invite people. We have a Facebook group page that is called Healthy to Conquer, and we post it there. If it rains, then we have a rain day.
Right, right. Oh, that is so interesting. My husband told me I've been obsessed with this ever since I spoke to you on the phone because it makes so much sense to me. And you suggest starting maybe with one plant-based meal a day, is that right?
You start like that for a week and see how you feel, and then you advance to eating plant-based 5 days a week, and then you have your 2 days during the weekend to, you know, eat other stuff, hopefully non-processed.
Well, I want to ask you this. When you say weekend, is wine in this diet at all?
Well, as far as I know, wine is plant-based.
Yeah, I agree. No mommy, no mommy, no daddy, we're all set.
Now, alcohol is a very potent carcinogen. Now, your liver detoxifies that. But if you go over the limit of what the liver can detoxify, so alcohol is really not a good idea. That's why people with previous history of cancer, we tell them don't drink. I mean, because it will potentiate your risk for the cancer to come back.
It will.
It will. I personally don't drink much. You know, I do have a son getting married. I will have a glass of champagne, but that's about it.
Right.
I mean,
Makes sense to
yes.
me. Well, thank you very,
Oh,
very